Good morning, children. Now, we have studied about so many different types of changes, right? We spoke about reversible, irreversible changes. We also spoke about physical and chemical changes. Now, apart from that, there are many other changes, okay? Sometimes these are all linked together. Now, let's see, for example, you can see some pictures here in the slide. There is sunrise happening, right? So, when sun rises, what type of change will you consider this to be? Okay, so it doesn't come under the same category. Similar way, germination is happening. Apart from being a chemical change, it is also a very slow change. It doesn't happen very fast. Okay, even rusting of iron, if you go to see, this also, apart from being a chemical change and an irreversible change, there is something else also attached to it, and that is, it is also a very slow change. Then we have rotting of fruit. Okay, this also, apart from being an irreversible change and a chemical change, again is a very slow change. So you can see that these changes could be categorized into various categories. Like for example, I'll just show you another two figures here. Cutting of a tree. Okay, we said that germination is a slow change. But one more category it could come under, and that is it's a desirable change. But cutting of a tree is not desirable. We don't want to cut trees, isn't it? Same way, when it rains for a seed to germinate, it's a desirable change. It is something which we want. But the same rain, when it causes flood, then we say that the change is not desirable, or it is an undesirable change. There is another change here, like this rotting of apple. Apart from being a chemical change and a slow change, it is also a change that is not desirable. Okay, rotten apple is of no use for anyone. On the other hand, you see milk changing to curd. This becomes a desirable change. So, apart from the changes that we have studied earlier, today we are going to study about some other category of changes. All right. Now let us look at the other changes. The first one here is a periodic and a non-periodic change. Like in the previous slide, we saw the rising of sun. Sun rises every day, okay, approximately at the same time. So it's a periodic change. It is repeated after a regular interval of time. Whereas a non-periodic change is the one which is not repeated at regular intervals of time, right? So many of the natural changes that happen, like the seasons that come, then day and night, formation of day and night, all these come under periodic changes. Whereas apart from this, the other changes that happen, they are non-periodic. They are not repeated, okay, at a regular interval of time. It happens at any time. Same way we spoke about the desirable and the undesirable changes, changes that are brought about by nature or by man, which produces some useful results. That comes under a desirable change, something which we want. It is of some benefit to us. Then it is a desirable change. Whereas the same change, if it is brought about by nature or by man, and it produces something which is useless, it's of no use for us, it's a bad result, then it becomes an undesirable change. Like we spoke about rotting of a fruit. Okay, it is of no use for us. So that's undesirable. Whereas on the other hand, when the fruit ripens, it's a desirable change. Because only when it ripens, we can eat it. Isn't it? It is something which we want. It is of use for us. So it becomes a desirable change. Same way we have rain that is brings water for the crops. That is also desirable. Changing of milk to curd because we eat curd, right? So that again is desirable change. Changing of seedling into a plant also comes under a desirable change. Whereas the same rain that causes destruction by flood is not desirable. Milk turning sour, we cannot use that milk now. So that again is not desirable. Cutting of trees again we discussed is not desirable. So this is another type of change. Now let's see another one. The other changes are slow changes and fast changes. Some changes happen very slowly, at a very slow pace it goes on. And after many years, we find that this particular change has happened. Like, for example, weathering of rocks. Okay, you don't see a mountain and then suddenly all soil is formed. The process is a very slow process which goes on and on for many years. Even soil erosion. Today we cut down trees and the soil is eroded and that place becomes barren after many years. That's again a very slow change. Same way, deposition of the sediments, okay, and formation of sedimentary rocks again is a process which goes on very slowly. Whereas some changes are very fast. It quickly happens, like volcanic eruptions, okay, suddenly it happens. And then there are so many calamities, earthquakes, okay, even landslides. Most of these natural calamities that happen very fast, okay, and they are therefore even undesirable because they take so many lives, okay. So fast changes and slow changes, this is another category that you're going to study. Now let us see the next category, that is exothermic and endothermic changes, okay. Now thermic word means heat. Exothermic means a change during which heat is given out. You can look at the first picture there, that conical flask, there is some change that is happening. There are some hot material is kept there, some reaction is going on, and then heat is given out. Okay, so you are not heating it anyway, but due to the reaction, heat comes out. So this type of change is termed as an exothermic change, where heat is given out. Whereas in the next conical flask, you can see that heat is taken in. That means when you want to have these changes to happen, you need to supply heat. You need to give heat. Then only these reactions or these changes can happen. So such a change where you have to supply heat, you have to give heat, it's called an endothermic change, where heat is taken in. Like for example, you can see an example of endothermic change in that first figure there. Okay, evaporation. Evaporation will not happen unless and until the temperature rises. Some amount of heat is given. Then with that heat, the water molecules are going to evaporate. If there is no heat given, if there is no sunlight, so evaporation will not happen. Same way, cooking is a type of reaction, it's a type of change where you are supplying heat and then only the food is cooked. Okay, whereas when you light a candle, okay, so you have lit the candle and the heat that is produced by the candle is dissipated everywhere. Like for example, you can see cooking, when you are cooking the food, it is an endothermic change, but the heat that you are supplying from below becomes exothermic. That heat is giving heat to the egg that is being cooked. Okay, so the gas stove, when you light the gas stove, it becomes exothermic change, that is heat is coming out from it, and the food that is being cooked is taking that heat. So there that change becomes an endothermic change. Okay, so any such change that happens where heat is taken in is called an endothermic change, and a change where heat is given out is termed as an exothermic change. Now we have studied so many changes, right? So it's good to do an activity here. Now in this activity, again you are having some changes given to you, around 7 changes again. Now you have to categorize them into all these categories that you have studied. Okay, you can simply write down the term, like rusting of iron, which of in the first column, whether it is reversible or irreversible, then physical or chemical, slow or fast, and desirable or undesirable. Okay, and you're going to complete this activity. All right, you'll be doing it for homework. Now, after studying about the different changes, I have a brainstorming question for you. So now you're going to think about this question and we'll be discussing the answer in the next class. Okay? The question is, if the ocean was filled with any other liquid instead of water, any other liquid, how would it affect the aquatic life in the colder countries? Okay? So in the cold countries, maybe near the Arctic zone or the Antarctic zone, where it is very cold, how would it affect if the ocean was filled with a liquid, any other liquid instead of water? So you just think over it, okay, children, and we'll get back in the next class. Thank you so much.